Hello there, my name is Adam Neve. I'm an OHS instructor at the College of North Atlantic Qatar, and this is a short video explaining student-generated test questions, classroom assessment technique number 25 from Angelo and Cross. This video is being produced for Dr. Glenn Gailey of Vancouver Community College in association with PIDP 3230 Evaluation of Learning. There's me about to try this classroom assessment technique in one of my courses. Through this experience, I discovered some advantages as well as some limitations that I'll explain in a minute. But I wanted to start by introducing the main purpose and principle behind spending your class time on student-generated test questions. So first of all, this is a fantastic way for students to focus in on the learning objectives of the course and think like a teacher in order to generate their own test questions for practice. For teachers, it's a great way to get feedback from students on what they consider the most important and valuable content from your course. This is best accomplished in the context of reviewing material for an upcoming major test, like a midterm or a final examination. There are, however, a few things to be aware of before trying this technique. And the biggest drawback I found was how time intensive it was. It takes a substantial amount of time to prepare to deliver this assessment, for students to respond to this assessment, and for faculty to analyze the data collected. Put another way, it's recommended that you deliver this assessment 2 to 3 weeks prior to your upcoming test. So let's say you have a test on January 31st. You'll want to start planning this assessment at least 3 weeks prior in order to deliver the assessment by no later than, say, the 17th. That way, you'll have plenty of time to give students a chance to practice their generated test questions and to give them the necessary feedback about the data you've collected. There are some other caveats, like students thinking you're lazy by getting them to do all of your work for you, or that many students need significant guidance writing test questions, but all of those limitations can be overcome by explaining the details of this classroom assessment technique thoroughly. For my attempt, I set up a learning station for each learning objective that was about to be tested on the upcoming midterm exam. At each learning station, I provided students with guidelines on how to write the various types of test questions I wanted. In this case, it was alternate response, multiple choice, and restricted response essay questions, and some blank paper for them to write and submit their generated questions. Then the students were given the following instructions. Choose a partner, because I wanted this to be a collaborative effort and I wanted them all to get a chance to visit each learning station. Pick a learning objective and go to that associated learning station. Consult the guidelines once there about generating test questions of the various types, and then finally rotate through the stations until they generated one of each question type for each learning objective. What happened next was nothing short of amazing. Students were actively engaged in the learning objectives, they were collaborating about the learning materials, they consulted the guidelines and their notes to generate really good test questions. They even pulled out the textbook, they used their mobile phones to access reference material from our online course page, all in an effort to step up to the challenge. It was truly remarkable. Throughout the process, I visited the learning stations to check in on student progress, and I gave them some informal feedback along the way to help things along. What I was given was a slew of different question types that, as they turned out, were really good. I think the detailed explanation of the assessment, along with the guidelines at each learning station, as well as the collaboration, really helped overcome some of the caveats of this assessment technique. I discovered more pros and cons with this assessment technique. For instance, students got a better understanding of what aspects of the course they understood, and my plans and expectations for the test became clear for the students. But overall, the biggest advantage I experienced was the students were, in effect, beginning to prepare in a very useful way for the upcoming test. So I took all of their handwritten generated questions, and in time for the next class I typed up and organized all of their questions in the same format as the upcoming test. This was to give students a chance to practice their own test, and in hopes of reducing some anxiety during the actual test by familiarizing them with the format. Then, in a closed book exercise, I got them to work in small groups to complete the practice test. Once again, the level of engagement and collaboration was incredible. Students asking, "Who wrote this question?" and others helping to explain the answer. It was, ultimately, an incredible experience that, as a teacher, was a real valuable use of class time. The entire process was brought to a close by giving students feedback, especially about how impressed I was with their work during the assessment and how prepared I thought they were for the upcoming test. Finally, I got their feedback on the process and found that they were highly appreciative of the valuable use of class time and the really interesting and engaging review, which ultimately is exactly what it was.